Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Season 3 of the Rule 34 podcast. I'm Jack, joined by...
Dominic Castillo.
Giovanni.
Alright, so we are back. Fellas, it is December already. How have you guys been?
I have been pretty good, pretty better per se. I'm much better than before. I don't have the fever anymore. I've gone past it, but I still have a bit of a cough. So it is what it is. It's cold. We finally bought a Christmas tree because it's December now. It's pretty cool. The cat has already almost knocked it down twice. And I'm surprised considering her size, since she's not as big, but she could still manage to knock down an entire 9-foot tree. I'm honestly surprised she could do that. What else has been going on? I'm thinking of painting my room. Because every other choice is like $2,000, $6,000 is very expensive. School's going pretty fine. I'm currently doing my finals at the moment, and I have one final due today at the time of the recording. It's due tonight. It's not that bad, but I believe it's my last final, if I'm not forgetting anything else, aside from aside from other homework tasks that I have. But it should be my last final for today. Over tonight, and yeah, nothing much else. Pog, how have you guys been, man?
Pog.
How about you, Jim?
Okay, so something very eventful happened last night. So we were having dinner, and on the kitchen table, and we had a guest over. He stayed here for maybe 4 or 5 days, and since I didn't want to talk to him, I got my phone and I put it on something to keep it up, and I was watching Jev and some of his videos and stuff. And I don't know what happened, but I was in a hurry to get back to my PC for some reason. I don't know. And then I left my phone on the table. And then after that, we got the boys got on for some Overwatch competitive. We had, I think. Did we end negative? I think we did. We were 3 and 4. And after that, when we got off, I went to the kitchen to find my phone because I was I want to talk to the boys on Instagram about the game we just had. And then I'm I couldn't find it on the kitchen table. So I was my mom probably saw it and put it on in my room somewhere. I went to my room, I couldn't find it. I went to my PC. It was maybe I brought it with me, and I left it on the table. It wasn't there. Maybe somehow ended up in the living room. It's not there. And then I went to ask my mom, have you seen my phone? And she's oh yeah, I saw it on the kitchen table when after you left it there. And I was okay, then I'll go back to the kitchen table to find it. And after half an hour of going back and forth between rooms, asking people, yo, where's this? Have you seen it? I got on my brother's laptop, and I went to the Google Find My Phone thing, and it tracked it on the 805 going towards Tijuana, and I was there's no way this dude took my phone with him. And then he's oh, my dad was oh, he probably confused it for his own phone because they look so similar. And I was he saw me watching stuff on my phone. He saw where I placed my phone. He when you pick up my phone, the screen turns on. He would have known that oh, look at this random woman as this wallpaper that I don't know. Oh, this isn't my phone. I should put it back where I got it. Nah, let me take it, put it in my bag, and take it to a different country. Because you can't be that stupid. It's not oh, I think this is mine, and then not check it. He knew. I have a feeling that he knew he was taking my phone, and he was. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he wanted to steal my phone, but he wasn't counting on the fact that we could be able to track it because he's 50 and stupid. So my phone is somewhere in Tijuana right now, and he said that he was gonna mail it back. I don't know how long that's gonna take, but the thing I'm worried about is because work. What if there's something happens and I get called for work? What if there's a question at work what if someone's trying to contact me and I don't have my phone? So that happened last night. And today in the morning, we can't find my brother's keys, his car keys. We looked all over the house, and the only explanation is that this dumb bag of rocks took it with him too. Somehow, in confusion, he's like, "Oh, these look like my keys. How? You don't even have a car here." I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure this guy owes money somewhere, and he's like, "I'm just gonna steal these dudes. I'm gonna take the keys. I hope they forget about it. Come back, take the car, sell it, and then pay off my debt." Since the day I met this dude, I did not trust him. He somehow took off with my phone and my brother's keys. We're suspecting that he took my brother's keys because we haven't found it, and the only logical explanation is that someone that was in the house took them. So all fingers are pointing at him. So that happened today in the morning. But besides that, I guess it's not really silver lining because it's like who takes stuff that doesn't belong to them? Like, he came unannounced to our house. Like, we didn't even invite him over. He just showed up at our doorstep. He's like, "Yo, hi, let me stay here for 5 days. Let me freeload off of you guys for 5 days." I was like, who does that, dude? Like, it's so frustrating. And then, but besides that, I have the week off because there's no events from Sunday to Wednesday. And then the rest of the week is the Disney ice skating thing. And they only need a very few amount of people, and they didn't, choose me for those days. So a week of grinding Overwatch, I guess.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry for ranting, by the way. It pissed me off, dude.
I think we should hold a community fundraiser to get Gio a new phone.
Dude, I'm not I don't care about the phone because it was $100 at Boost Mobile. I got it during the Christmas sales. It's just the phone. What I care about is the content that is on that phone, and my ability to not contact others or people not being able to contact me in case of an emergency. I have no way of doing that. It's
He does have a point.
Stupid bald mother.
Whoa.
Very crazy turn of events for Gio. I don't know how you follow that up, honestly, right, Dom?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I hope you get the phone back. I'm not sure about mailing things over, or the time it might take. But I don't know what else to say. Yeah.
Just gotta, I guess, hope for the best for Gio, and hope that he ends up either getting that phone back or is able to get a replacement phone soon or something. Because my goodness, what a turn of events for that to all happen in the span of just a couple days.
The good thing is that Google has this feature, or for whatever reason, if I can't get my phone back in a week, I'm just gonna. It has this feature where you could just erase all the content on the phone. I'm probably just gonna do that in case motherfuckers want to. Oh, my bad. In case people of certain characteristics. Oh, dude, they just scored again. In case they want to start snooping, because I have stuff on that phone that I don't want people to see.
Do you have it backed up somewhere?
Huh?
Do you have that backed up somewhere?
Yeah, it's I don't all the pictures and stuff. I don't care. The important account information is synced up to my Gmail.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good.
Can't you delete everything on the contents of the phone? Because I'm pretty sure you can on iPhone, but
dude, that's literally what I just said.
But you did not say to delete everything from.
I just said erase everything on the phone, all the content, everything, just completely wipe it. But after I wipe it, I won't be able to track it anymore.
Ah, okay.
All right, for sure. Well, sounds like you have a good, steady plan in place. As far as me, let's see. I haven't been doing much lately. I got on yesterday to play Overwatch with the boys. We should have gotten off after the third game that we had, finished off strong, but instead we, as Gio said, we finished negative, and it was a very tough experience to sit through. Um, especially the one game, which is funny because we won, right? We won the game on Parasawi, right?
Well,
The Lucio map.
Yeah.
We won that game, but there was a Widowmaker on the other team that literally was just absolutely sniping all of us, especially me. There was one point where I switched to Moira, and I barely walked out of spawn and got sniped, and I was ready to just quit the game right then and there. Very difficult games yesterday.
I think what was annoying was that they texted in the match chat that they were constantly missing, just to like soften like the idea that they're not cheating, you know. Or that
Dude, honestly, like I thought, like I 100% think that Widow was cheating because like it's somehow they knew information that literally like I was flanking them, and then like she turned like dragged her thing over to where I was already aiming at my head, and I was Reaper, dude. Reaper makes no sound at all. Like I wasn't pinged. I saw Roadhog coming my way. He saw me, but like when in the replay there was no ping. I wasn't pinged. How did she know? Unless they were like in comms to look to her right, already aiming at my head, like at head level. Like she was like between my eyes. Like no one is that good. And has some of the shots. Like she has like no information, but she knew where to look. She probably had like the hitbox things that tells you where players are. She that person was definitely cheating. That's just me though.
Cheating and still lost because we're just that good.
I feel like that.
What else did I do? I went to watch a movie with my friends on Friday. Very good movie. Really hit me. But other than that, haven't been doing much. Metro Boomin's album came out. We'll review that Thursday. But like I mentioned, it is December. It is the final month before the year ends. And as per tradition, when we get to this point, well, not tradition on this podcast because we've never done this, but tradition in terms of just everyday life since it became a thing, we have our end of the year Spotify Wraps, Apple Replays, whichever you use. We have them here. And we're going to kind of discuss each other's. If you want to say, in a sense, review each other's Apple Music Replays, Spotify Wraps, whatever we use. Maybe talk in a bit of detail about maybe any disappointment that a certain artist was number one or like on your top list and another artist wasn't, or talk about maybe because I know for me there's definitely like a split between like halfway in the year there was like a shift in the music, but you can still see like an overall pattern like throughout the year, but not as cohesive as one. But so yeah, that's kind of what we want to do today, is just talk about our end of the year music list, especially because I don't know when it will be, but coming up soon we're gonna have our top 10 albums of the year list, and that should definitely be an interesting one because as you're gonna see with our Spotify and Apple Replays Wraps, very different levels of taste and levels of, I guess you could say, music enjoyment when it comes to the three of us. Because let's start off real quickly with one big thing, and that is how many minutes did you guys finish with at the end of the year?
I finished with, I think, 8,000 minutes, something like that. Like 2022 was a very slow year for me music-wise, so my minutes were kind of low.
How about
in
you,
comparison to everybody else.
How about you, Dom?
I'm trying to find the amount of minutes, but if I remember correctly, how much was it? On Spotify, I have 2,475, and on Apple Music, I believe, how much did I have?
I think you had like 15K. I think it was
Around like 13,000. I think 13,000 to 15,000 minutes. Oh no, my bad. 16,043 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it's a lot.
Sure.
I think.
I know. You guys I mean, that's probably a lot to you guys. But I finished with a grand total of 134,404 minutes of music listened to.
Bro, that's...
I think in 2021 I had like 21,000 minutes listened. Or something like that. You do be listening to a lot of music, Jack.
Yeah, hold on.
Do you have it on like all the time, or is it just like the amount of times that you go back to listening to music is like a lot more than a normal person's would be?
I think I think the thing is I'm just constantly listening to music. Like, I just did the tally right now. That is 2,240 hours of music listened to.
And like, is that in days?
It's, how would you put it? It's a mix of things. I have music on pretty much all the time, especially when I go to sleep. But it's also a thing of like pretty much every Thursday. Because, you know, all new music pretty much drops on Thursday. Every Thursday, I'm right there in the Apple Music section where it shows you like all the newest music that released this week. And I'm pretty much there, and I'm looking through, and I'm looking at interesting album titles, covers, whatever, or artists that I've heard of before, I haven't heard of. And then I'm just listening to those albums and seeing what I like out of it, and then adding them to, you know, my playlist. Because another thing that's very different between the two of us, or the three of us, you guys don't have like big playlists, I guess you would say. Like, Dom, you said you only have like a playlist of like 100 something songs, right?
On Spotify, yeah. On Apple Music, wait, hold. I'm pretty sure I had a very large amount. What was it? It was like 700, 800.
Okay, yeah. And then Gio, how many did you have again? Or like, I forget. I know you probably don't know the specific number, but you keep your playlist relatively short, right?
I have a playlist, like my main playlist. I guess it's not my main playlist, but it's a playlist that I have is 72 songs, and then my other playlist is 35 songs. But these are like very outdated. I haven't like bothered to update them because I'm more like when I want to listen to music, I just like pick an album and listen to it. Not really like of a playlisted, because like if I listen to one song, it's like, oh, after this song is that song. But if it's not that song, I'm like, dude, why? Like, it bothers me when it's not like when I can't listen to what I want to listen to, you know?
I get you, especially because I don't know if you guys have this issue on either Apple Music or Spotify, whichever it is. Don't the shuffles half the time feel like they're not actually shuffling the songs? Because there's so many times where I'll get like 3 songs back to back to back by an artist, and I'm like, I thought this was supposed to be on shuffle. And I forget, I think going back to our Apple Music Spotify like debate episode, I forget which one we said had the better shuffling ability.
I think Spotify has a better shuffling.
Yeah.
From experience, because in Apple, if you hit shuffle, like you got like the same song 3 times in a row, and then it's just like, I don't know, the algorithm that they use to shuffle, like it's just like the initial shuffle is bad, but after that, it does like a good job of like randomizing the songs.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, what's it called? The going back to the thing about with me, yeah, I listen to it pretty much all the time, and then the biggest contributing factor is that my playlist with all my music in it is like, I think I'm at 2,500 something songs in there, and it's like 100 something hours long, and I just usually for the most part I throw that one on shuffle. It's probably my most listened to like playlist, if you want to say. I have other playlists for like more specific things, but that's like the one that I'll throw it on shuffle just because for the most part I don't really care too much about I guess like the music I listen to in terms of like the music I have in that playlist. It's like like I said, I have different playlists for when I'm looking for like a specific type of music, specific artists and all that, and grouping them together. But that playlist is like my main one where it's just, you're going to get this whole roller coaster of genres, artists, and different types of music that you have in it. And definitely reflective through my replay, because I'm personally surprised myself that I have that much music listened to. But
I think never mind. I was gonna make a joke, and then you were gonna be like, "No, I gatekeep my artists." But
well, I do technically gatekeep my artists, but I think another thing too was just 2022 was such a good year for music that I was just listening to a lot of these different albums way more than previous years. But let's move on to like the next section. I think what were your guys' top artists of the year?
my top artist for 2022 was B.I. I had... No, wait. I'm dumb. The 8,000 minutes was B.I. alone. I don't remember my total. Never mind then. But yeah, my top artist was B.I. Because, you know, his album was just that good.
The home.
What about Dominic? Who was your top artist?
My top artist may or may not have been Kanye West. I can swear to the audience that this does not relate to anything he's done to at the current moment of the situation on Kanye West and his outbringings of his free speech, I guess, if you want to say it, just to not be very explicit on his message that he's brought out recently. But, you know, yeah, I have Kanye in my number one top pick from Apple Music. How about you guys, man?
I very much share that sentiment with Dom, because it's documented on this podcast. If you go back to season 2, around like March or April, I literally told Dom, like, oh yeah, I decided, you know, to give his full discography a listen to, all the way from his first album to his latest and all that. And it just ends up reflecting on my end of the year list, because he's at number 3 from my top artists this year. And it's just like, it's not truly reflective of me listening to him that much. It's just I was listening to his entire discography this year, and that's just how the tables ended up turning, where I gave his music a listen. I was like, dang, man, his music's so good. He's definitely like a really great artist and has a really great discography with all these different hit songs. And then he opens his mouth and I'm just like, oh, you really want to just ruin this for us and end up having to have ourselves explain ourselves when the end of the year list comes out. And, you know, I am not going to like stand here and try and tell people, you know, oh, you should and shouldn't listen to these artists because they did this and that. That's up to you to decide, you know. Personally, I'll admit I'm already a hypocrite in itself, because I've removed a lot of his songs from my playlist, but there are just certain ones that I kept out of, I guess you could say, like, personal connection. Because, like, I don't think I'd ever have it in me to delete Street Lights off of my playlist. That song is just one of the greatest songs I've ever heard. Even if it comes from a man who decides that, as Dom said, quote unquote, free speech is what he's preaching out right now.
Wait, I have a question for you guys.
Yes.
And it's kind of connected to, you know, what we've been talking about. Because for me, it's kind of like, I'm mostly on like the K-pop side of things, right? Because that's like the main genre that I listen to. And over there, the main issues are, well, sometimes it could get kind of bad. sexual harassment allegations and other things like that. And there's like this whole like debate that usually happens that, oh, if you continue to support this artist, that means that you also you also support his actions. And then for me, it's always been, I listen to the music. I could care less what the person does. If the person's like horrible, like Kanye, if he's basically Kanye, like I don't care what he does. That's him. That's who he is. But I'll listen to his music, but not I could care less about the artist himself. It's like, how do you guys feel about that? Because I know like there's like, oh, if you're supporting the artist, your streams are giving him more money, but it's like it's the music that I care about, not his stupid political views. Like I don't care about that stuff.
Yeah, and
what are your thoughts on that?
I very much feel the same way, where it's like I don't really care about like most of that stuff. And like, to the argument that if you listening to the music is putting money in their wallet, first off, you truly need to understand how streaming numbers work, because as we've discussed on this podcast many times, they make nothing off of streaming. They make nothing off of us playing their songs on our phones. They get their money from concerts, from sponsorships, from, collaborations and deals and stuff like that. They don't make nothing off of us listening to their music. Like Meek Mill said, he said like he had his biggest song to date with Drake when they did that song back in like 2018 together, and he only saw a fraction of what he made off of that song, and the rest of it, he doesn't even know who got to that money. It was probably the labels and all the different people that worked behind the scenes, but though it was still a large amount of money that he got, he only saw a fraction of what he could have made off of that song. So people really need to understand how this music industry works, where you playing a song isn't what's getting them like their money, or like it's not like you directly giving them money, It's like the same thing as like if you bought the album, like go back to like the days of like the physical sales, they only got $15 off of you that one time when you bought the CD. They aren't earning any more money off you when you're playing that CD over and over at home, in your car, whatever, So it's like, I don't necessarily think that, you are contributing and giving them money by streaming their songs. And I definitely don't think that just because you listen to an artist and their music doesn't mean you condone their actions, because there's so many. Music is on a different level when it comes to connecting with people in different ways, like so many people can have different connections to a song, to the same song, but it's different each time. And so it's like a lot of the times people have very close connections to songs that, they use to help them, whether it's, with like depression, anxiety, even stuff like memory loss, and to fault those people for just wanting to simply stay with simply looking at just the music alone and not caring about the artist. I do think there's some artists out there that, you should probably just cut their music out completely based on some of the actions they've done. But I don't know. Then it becomes a moral sort of thing of like, like how I was saying, does it make you a hypocrite if you'll cut out certain artists but not all artists,
Mm-hmm.
It's like the people who wanted everyone to like stop listening to XXX's music, but some of these people were still out there listening to R. Kelly's music. And it's like, at that point, it's a thing of morals, and it's like, who really has the moral high ground at this point if you're like listening to music by that guy and trying to tell other people they shouldn't listen to music from this guy,
Mm.
What do you think, Dom?
I think, pretty much the same as well. When it comes to like listening to music before knowing the context of an artist, like let's say you were to listen to Kanye for the first time without knowing anything about, the current, situation that's going on, and you were to listen to his entire discography, and you enjoy it, right? But and you like, let's say you throw your opinion out, oh, I really like Kanye's music, but then people are gonna immediately backlash you. Oh, you're supporting, his words, what he said, what he stated, but you never, it's like that the Twitter line, that quote, like, oh, I like waffles, well, that must mean you would hate pancakes or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's two completely different sentences.
Exactly. So I feel like coming back to the music side of things, you could enjoy his discography, but supporting his words is a completely separate thing. So you could enjoy the music, but I don't think you should enjoy the music just because he just stated what he stated, right? So you could, personally, for me, I absolutely do not endorse, I don't condone any of the words he stated. It's absolutely horrible what he's stating right now. But the music, that is aside from his personal views, I believe the majority of his discography from way back then, back with Graduation, back with, all that stuff, it's of his personal viewpoint that is not related to what he's stating right now on Twitter and, on the Alex Jones podcast, InfoWars and all that stuff. I'm pretty sure this is completely separated from what we know from his music.
It's one thing to listen to the music because you enjoy the music and what's being said in it, the stories being told, the message being told. It's one thing to do that than to just listen to an artist because you started hearing them say all this different stuff, because you already know there's people out there who probably never listened to Kanye a day in their life, and now that he's saying stuff like this that they agree with, now they're going to listen to him because they're like, oh yeah, he's someone like me, let me go listen to his music as a way to support him. That's completely different than like how Dom's saying, where someone just listens to the music. They don't care about what Kanye's doing in his personal life because they aren't invested in some celebrity, And I think that's the big issue, is that too many people put these artists on a pedestal without realizing that they're human too, and they're not perfect, So many people were kind of like surprised by all this stuff that Kanye said. And sure, I was surprised too, because it's like, who goes out and says stuff like this? But at the same time, I'm not like these people who, they put their artists on a pedestal and act like they're perfect to the point where, they're like so shocked by it, and that, it's like, I don't know. To me, it's kind of like how Dom's saying. It's like, people want to say you can't do it, that you shouldn't do it, but you seriously can separate art from the artist, Especially because, like I said, this can turn into a whole thing of who has the moral high ground, because to the same people who want to say, oh, you can't like separate the art from the artist, I bet there's something in each and every one of their lives that you can point to and be like, hey, did you know that the background to this and this is this? And then it becomes a moral battle of like, what's wrong and right to support at this point. And then you're going to basically learn almost nothing is right to support at this point. But that's just my view on that. But oh my gosh, I didn't even realize I didn't even say my top artists. But it's okay though, because I really liked that discussion. But my top artist on the year was a demonstration of the absolute shift that I underwent this year, and that is because at number one I had Twice. Shout out Gio.
Shout out Twice.
Shout out Twice. Ended up as my number one.
Finish, because you haven't really talked much.
Yeah, they ended up as my number one, and that's because it was this year that I was like, hey, Gio, make me a playlist of Twice. Let me see if I like them, since I know that one song from them. And then I heard last year the album Formula of Love, and I loved everything on that. And I was like, let me get more of that. And then it ended up turning into this endless rabbit hole where now they're my number one artist. I own two. It's the same album, but I own 2 copies of the same album. And I ended up listening to a ton of different artists within that genre, all because Gio showed me one song back in like 2020. Absolute insanity.
I was kind of surprised that Twice wasn't higher for me. But I think Twice is my second like most listed artist in 2022. But I was expecting them to be number one. I didn't know I listened to BI that much.
But coinciding, what was your guys' top song of the year? And Apple shows you how many times you listened to it. So, how many times did you guys listen? Because for me, coinciding with top artists, Twice's "The Feels" was my number one with 142 plays. Which I didn't know. I didn't listen to that song that much, but it makes sense because that was the song that really started this descent into the rabbit hole.
I had, again, with Kanye, I had Devil in a New Dress with 166 plays. Gio?
Let me ask you this real quick, though. While Gio finds his song, let me ask you this. Did you listen to Devil in a New Dress? Do you think... All right, let's do this. Out of those 162, you said, right?
Yeah, 166.
166. Out of that, how many times do you think you listened to the song in full?
Every time. Practically, actually, a couple of times, I'll admit, I just skipped to Rick Ross's, like, verse part and kind of just skipped Kanye's because I do love both of them equally, sort of.
You love Kanye? That's a bold thing to say in 2022.
But I think Ross's verse just goes absolutely ham on the track. I just,
You're not wrong. Rick Ross killed it on that track. Did you find your top song, Gio?
I'm trying to... This is I don't have my phone.
Oh, my bad. Oh, I'll look through the group chat because I know you sent it.
That's what I'm doing right now, but it's been...
I think it definitely was a BI song, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, my top song was B2B2, feat. Davida and Soulja Boy. Soulja Boy up in this hole,
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the thing so I could see how many times it was. I think it was like 47 or something like that.
Yeah.
I've been kind of like on the low side music-wise this year.
Yeah.
So many pictures of stupid cars, Dominic.
Your top album was Cosmos by B.I.
Yeah, dude, that thing slaps.
Banger album. Dom's top album was, of course, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Dom, I want to ask, how much did our album review of it play into that?
I feel like it played a good amount, only because during the episode, I was like heavily listening to Devils in a New Dress constantly. It was Devils in a New Dress and Runaway, but mostly Devils in a New Dress. But yeah, it definitely played into a big part into me just constantly hammering why I love Devil in a New Dress a lot. And it's the storyline, the behind the scenes with with Ross doing the thing with the verse and Kanye, blah blah. It did a lot, yeah. Paul.
Dude, there's so many Winton over what in the chat.
Winton. I think, what was my... Oh, wait, let me double check. Oh, wait, why do I have to check? I already know what it is. My top album was Don FM, Dom. No surprise there. That freaking... I've been listening to that album since it dropped in January. 189 plays. And our album review definitely played into part of it, like early on when we had to listen to it, but I'm not lying, that is the one album that's been on not necessarily like full repeat, but all basically like I want to say over half the songs from that album have been heavily in my rotation since it dropped.
CSC.
Wait, do you guys know when the Apple one dropped? Because I can't find it.
What do you mean?
The Wrapped.
It already is. You just search up Apple Music Replay.
Oh, I probably should have done that instead of scrolling through all of this.
But yeah, that was my number one. And it kind of just has like a clear advantage because it's at 189 plays, almost 200 plays. And the second album is Between 1 and 2 by Twice at 66. But yeah, that was my top listen to album. But funny enough, Dom, as we inch closer to our top 10 list, I don't know. I really don't know where I'm gonna place it because I feel like as I keep listening to all the different albums that have dropped, and even the ones like we've reviewed a bit on this podcast, I'm just struggling to really think where I will put it. It's a tough year for music, dude. I counted the other day, and this is with still like a couple weeks. Like this was like I want to say last month, so more music has dropped. I have like 20 something albums in contention that I have to condense down into what is gonna make up the top 10 list.
Interesting.
It's gonna be very difficult, man. I've been exploring a lot of different artists, genres, and that's kind of the one thing that I'm a bit annoyed with the replay is that I feel like next year's will be more of a better reflection of the different sort of music and artists I listen to, because my top 10 was basically like, or even just top 5 was a lot of like well-known artists, you know, and it doesn't really reflect a lot of the how would you put it, I guess you could say smaller artists that I've listened to a lot, you know. And I don't know, it's always been different each year, because like 2020 was The Weeknd, 2021 was Juice WRLD, and now Twice is here. So it's like different every year. But I don't go into a year like wanting a specific outcome, you know, like, oh, let me what is it called? Let me make sure that by the end of the year this artist is like at the top. But maybe next year, even though it goes against my gatekeeping ways, I'll make it the year of showing love to smaller artists.
Yeah. I feel like with the recent release of Need for Speed Unbound featuring A$AP Rocky, the game has also released a soundtrack that explores many different different artists I've never heard about. Mm-hmm. But like the music is so well diverse, but it's so like just like properly good. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like there's some Indian rappers, there's some like Brazilian rappers, there's like Yugoslavic rappers, and I've come to a taste with new music in mind. You know, and it's really good. You know, I'm not sure if you guys. Obviously, I don't think you guys ever heard the new soundtrack that came out, but I'll send it to you guys. You probably guys, it's like 60, 80, 60, I think 80 tracks, I think. But it's like, with that in mind, I feel like it's always good to like have a sort of platform that like gives you a set of just like different songs from different people that you'll never know, but you might come to know, Like, I feel like the Need for Speed series alone has given me a bunch of new artists that I've never heard of, but it has like given me a nice but like intense introduction to him. Like I've never heard of Action Bronson before. I never heard of Duckworth before. I never heard of who else was Run the Jewels before, until Need for Speed just throws into me, and I'm like, yo, who are these guys? And I start to listen to the music, and then boom, and it started to get plays that I've never heard of before. Neon Indian as well, with like Grand Theft Auto 5. And and it's a bunch of cool things to I guess go through per se in terms of the scope.
Sorry, Dom, not to cut you off, but with about 30 seconds left, we're not gonna do an outro. Instead, I want to know, predict who's gonna be your top artist next year, and there's 25 seconds, so very quickly. Dom, who do you think is gonna be your top artist next year?
It's either between Thundercat or Kanye again.
Gio?
French. Twice.
Man. Okay. I think mine's probably going to be Paramore because they're dropping an album next year, but wouldn't be surprised if it's some lesser known artist. But thank you all for joining for this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.